It's said that it takes money to make money, and the richest guy that I've personally met has over $40 million worth of debt. And I know if Dave Ramsey heard that, he'd probably want to kick me. But I'd kick Dave Ramsey too, which is probably better than he deserves. What's up guys, it's Avery here. Today I'm wearing a branded t-shirt from a college that I did not attend, but it's a great t-shirt and I like wearing it, so I thought I'd wear it. And normally I like to wear plain colored t-shirts because I think it seems more professional, but I'm trying to step away from seeming professional on my YouTube because I'm really not professional whatsoever. I like to mess around, so hopefully this very higher education t-shirt tells you such. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about the power of debt. And one thing that a majority of really wealthy people have in common is that they've utilized leverage to build their wealth. Leverage is a very simple concept that a lot of extremely wealthy people utilize. It's when you use something to maximize your advantage. This could be seen if you were trying to dig a hole using a shovel instead of your hands, or me out there asking you to like the video for the YouTube algorithm so I don't have to rely on my own charm in order to create organic reach. And lastly, it could be borrowing money at a lower interest rate than the rate of return that you could make on your money. So that last sentence is the key right there, and I'll repeat it again. It's when you can borrow money or leverage other people's money, and there's many different forms of other people's money, but a very common way could be through the bank, and you borrow it at an interest rate that is lower than the amount of money that you could make on it. So if you could borrow something at, let's say, a 3% interest rate and take that money that you've borrowed and make 5% per year with that money, then you are up 2% per year with that money that you've borrowed that wasn't yours in the first place. Now, there's a very key difference between this type of debt that I'm talking about, which would be good debt and bad debt, because when people think of debt, it's typically the bad debt that a majority of people in the world are in. And this can be seen as things like credit card debt, auto loan debt. If you have a personal mortgage, even though homes go up in value, you are paying to live in that specific property. Any other type of personal debt that you've had to acquire. Credit card debt definitely being the worst because it has 15 to 20% interest rate on the rate of return that you have to pay the bank back. That's all bad debt. All of that debt you should definitely get off your balance sheet so that you can start utilizing good debt and actually make money and build your wealth. So because it's a very simple concept, I am not going to overcomplicate it and try to make this video longer than it needs to be. And I'm just going to get into 3 examples where you could utilize other people's money and then make money with that money. And that way the bank that you're borrowing from or the person that you're borrowing from is happy, makes their rate of return, and you're happy and you make your rate of return because there's no way you could have invested into that specific asset class if you didn't borrow someone else's money because you didn't have money in the first place. Because, say it with me, it takes money to make money. The first example where you could leverage somebody else's money and then make more money with that money would be through an SBA loan. And I'm actually not sure what SBA stands for, but I'm sure my editor can put it out there so that I actually get it right. But essentially, you can buy a business. Now, many people want to go out there and start their own business and do a lot of the work, but similar to a house that's already out there that you could purchase, you can actually buy businesses. And you can buy them based on the cash flow that they're making or the perceived value that they have. And then once you have that business, you can start making all of the income that is associated with that business. But also you have all of the expenses too, and you need to know how to run a business. And a great place to be able to find businesses that are actually for sale, kind of similar to if you were looking for a house on Zillow. There's a website that I'm looking at right here. It's called BizBuySell. And actually you could have an opportunity for the town that I live in to buy a tax service franchise for only $54,000. And if you only had, I don't know, however much money, you could put that money down and then an SBA loan could cover the rest so that you could buy this business, maybe turn it into a better business that creates more profit, and then you could pay back your loan at the same time and have the business be running on its own, and then you make some cash flow from that business just because you were able to leverage some debt. So this is something that a lot of wealthy people do, or something that companies with a lot of cash might be able to do, is instead of creating that own arm of their specific company, or instead of that person wanting to go out there and be an entrepreneur and do all of that really hard work for however many years and potentially fail, you could just buy an already successful business and then create cash flow with it. And now this sounds like something that might be really out of reach, but you just saw right there, there are businesses for $50,000, and getting an SBA loan isn't necessarily as difficult as potentially qualifying for a home. So it's possible that you could go on this website, find a reputable business, and actually be able to purchase it. But if you're going to go this route, just like with any type of investment that you make sure you understand the thing that you are buying, all of the costs associated with it, and how you could actually run that business and hopefully run that business better than the person who's trying to sell it. The second example where I've seen a lot and a majority of millionaires, over 90%, used a lot of other people's money in order to purchase something that makes them monthly cash flow would be real estate. And if you watch my channel, you know I absolutely love real estate. It has helped me make a lot of money, like those 90% of people, and become a millionaire through investing in real estate, because it's so powerful that you can go out there, like the very first property I ever bought, and put 3.5% down payment down and buy a property that is worth over $500,000, which is pretty cool that you know you could do that at the young, ripe age of 24, and people do it way younger than I ever did. Utilizing leverage is a fantastic way to get into real estate, just like you watching this video all the way through is a fantastic way for me to become an extremely famous YouTuber, so I appreciate it. And it's really awesome because buying a house is something that a lot of people do throughout their life, so there's thousands of banks out there that have a variety of different loan types that you could choose from if you want to actually buy that rental property or buy other types of property that can make you money. So you can have commercial loans, maybe you're buying farmland, maybe you're buying a property that is a store or a business, and then you have your more traditional rentals where people have single family or 2 to 4 unit buildings that they can just rent out the places and then get long-term rents back. And then another really popular thing that has come up is Airbnbs or short-term rentals, where you can pretty much do the same thing on a scale of where you're renting it out on a short-term basis rather than long-term, but it'll come at a little bit of a higher cost of your time, but you can make a lot more money. So I still think real estate is the best way for you to build your wealth out of any example that I'm going to be talking to, because it's a tried and true and proven way where you can build a lot of wealth over your time and use it to retire on rather than continuing to work the rest of your life. And the number one best way for you to get into real estate is buying a 2 to 4 unit multifamily property through the house hacking method, which is how I started. I bought a duplex with 3.5% down payment, lived in one unit, rented out the other, had that whole amount of rent cover my mortgage, and I was able to live for free, save a lot of money, do it again and again. And if you're interested in learning more about house hacking, check out the link in the description below. And I have a free webinar for you where you can learn a lot more about the details. And if you're interested, you can join my program, the House Hacking Academy. We have a few members right now, and we go over a lot of cool things. Zoom calls we have, there's a course, as well as mentorship from yours truly. The third one that I'm going to talk about is maybe a little bit less attainable than the first two options, because typically you need a whole lot more money than you would for the first two options. And a whole lot of money might sound like different things to different people. When I was 5 years old, I thought $100 was a lot of money, and now it might cover a week of groceries. So your perspective might change as you make more money and you see more things and you get older or whatever. So this is when you would borrow against your portfolio of stocks and other assets that you might have within a platform like Vanguard, Charles Schwab, M1 Finance, or whatever. And instead of you selling those stocks and those securities in order to get your money out, you can just take a loan against them and then use that money to invest while your assets still continue to grow. Now, this is the key to a lot of very wealthy people, because when you sell stuff like stocks, real estate, other assets, you are taxed on it. And tax is a way that you can lose a lot of your wealth. So what a lot of very smart people do is, if you had a home, for example, you could take a loan against it. But in this case, we're talking about stocks. So if you had a $500,000 stock portfolio and you took a loan out against, let's say, $200,000 of it. Now you have a $200,000 loan against your stock portfolio. Instead of you selling that $200,000 and your stock portfolio going down to $300,000, you still have $500,000 stock portfolio. It is earning interest at the same rate that it was before, and earning interest on $500,000 is going to make you more actual dollars, even though it's the same percent as $300,000. But you also have this $200,000 of a loan that you can utilize and make more money with it. So now you could take that $200,000 and buy an awesome short-term rental portfolio with it, or you could buy a long-term rental portfolio, or just one property, or you could do whatever you want with it. Maybe you could start a really expensive YouTube channel and try to compete with Mr. Beast, although that might be harder to cash flow with immediately, but anything is possible if you put your mind to it. And the best thing about getting these type of loans is that they are not taxable. So that $200,000 that you have taken out is not taxable. People cannot tax debt, which is why a lot of very wealthy people like to utilize it rather than selling their assets and buying more assets with it. You just borrow from your asset, keep that asset, still going to go up, buy another asset, still going to go up. They both put money into your pocket every month, more than the cost of the debt that you've acquired. Hopefully now you get the picture. So those are 3 awesome examples of ways you can utilize debt, good debt, aka leverage, in order to build your wealth faster. Because if you wanted to still do all of those things and not utilize debt, Like if you wanted to buy a $500,000 property at the age of 24, rather than only having to put $18,000 down and having $500,000 in your bank account, that would have taken me close to my whole life in order to get to, and I wouldn't have gotten to the wealth standpoint that I'm at nearly as quickly. So this is why a lot of very wealthy people utilize leverage, because it can make you wealthy a lot faster and a lot easier than you just saving money like Dave Ramsey tells you to do. The one caveat here, like I said in the middle of the video, is do not over leverage, because a lot of people in the last decade have made a ton of money off of things like Airbnbs, other rentals, and just kind of wildly leveraging money. You could leverage money and buy cryptocurrency with it, and if that crypto completely crashed, you would be in a bad spot. So do not, and I mean definitely do not over leverage. Some people might think I'm over leveraged. Some people might think I'm under leveraged. I actually spoke to a wealthy person today and I told them about the amount of reserves that I have for my rental properties. They thought I was holding too much in order to be safe in case there was a downturn. Essentially, reserve is like having a rainy day fund for my properties, but it's better to be over reserved than under reserved in my opinion, so it's not really a big deal. So definitely make sure you have some cash reserves. Don't over leverage yourself. But make sure you aren't that type of person who's scared of money, who's being yelled at by Dave Ramsey, who's saying just save and save and save, be out of debt, debt is bad, because it's going to take you a lot longer to reach your goals when it comes from a wealth building standpoint, which is what my channel is all about, than if you were just trying to save and never be in any debt. Okay, cool, that's probably plenty enough for today, and if you guys like that video, make sure you hit subscribe so you can learn more about building your wealth. Notification bell, you know the whole thing, it helps you out so you can get the videos, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And also like it if you haven't already done so, I would appreciate that. I also make videos on TikTok and Instagram. People seem to like them, so maybe you like them too, unless you've already seen them before and then you came from there to here. Vice versa, whatever, just check it out, follow me on everything. I'd appreciate it. It makes my life a little bit more interesting and worth it from all the time that I put into content creation. So thanks again for watching, and more wealth is coming your way.